This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. We're learning Sefer Ezra, Perek Zayin. We're going to go back to Pasuk Chaf. And this is King Artaxerxes talking. Artaxerxes was another name for Daryavesh. And he's telling them the following. He's speaking to Ezra. Now you have to know, this is already the second wave of returnees. The first wave returns with Yoshua Kohen Gadol and with Zerubbabel. And they actually built the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash, I believe, now is standing. Ezra is now going up, like we mentioned, to fortify the Torah observance of the people. And the Beis HaMikdash still needed some funding for the costs. Ushar chashchos beis halakach. Anything else needed by the house of your God, Diipel lach lemintan, that falls upon you to give. Tintain, you shall give, min beis ginzei malka, from the treasury of the king. From the treasury of the king. Now, I think I already mentioned this, but it's kedai to mention again, that at the end of Megillah Esther, the pasuk says, Vayasam Achashverosh mas al ha'oretz v'iyeh hayam. Right? The Megillah ends that Achashverosh taxed the people. And the Brisker Rav asks, why do I need to know that for?
What's v'iyeh?
The islands. The islands. Right. Mas, by the way, is B'gematria 100. V'iyeh is B'gematria 27. He taxed all 127. Question is, the Megillah is not a history book. What do I need to know Achashverosh's economical, financial plans for the world? So the Brisker Rav gives his answer up Hidarkai, and we mentioned a pshat, a very nice pshat, that the Megillah is telling us that the story has come full circle. Because at the beginning of the Purim story, Achashverosh is celebrating the fact that the Beis HaMikdash was not rebuilt. By the end of the Beis HaMikdash, he's taxing the people. Guess where that money is going to go to? His son, Daryavesh, is going to open up the storehouses and tell Ezra, you need money for the Beis HaMikdash? Here, it's all yours. So it's mamish v'nahapechu. How in the beginning of the story, Achashverosh is celebrating the Beis HaMikdash is not being built, and by the end of the story, he's fundraising for the Beis HaMikdash.
Rabbi, but you know, it's a symbol of today's times as well, because the Megillah ends that it says Mordechai was accepted by Rovecha, because not everybody liked the idea that they were being taxed, including the Jews were being taxed.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see Pasuk Chaf Aleph, and then we're going to add something very interesting. Umini ana Artaxerxes Malka, and from before me, King Artaxerxes, Sim Te'em, I issue a decree. L'chol gizavraya, to all the treasurers. Di ba'avar nahara, that were trans river, meaning on the other side of the Euphrates, the Israel side. Di chol di yishalem choin Ezra chahana, that whatever Ezra the Kohen asks, Safar Dasa, the scribe of the law, Di elakah shemaya, of the God of heaven, As parno yisaved, it should be carried out expeditiously, quickly. Ad kisaf, up to how much silver? Kakrin mi'ah, 100 talents. So I just want to point out, who knows? We know Haman gave Achashverosh 100 kikar.
No,
Aseres alofim. Okay, you're right. Aseres alofim kikar kesef. Here he's offering how much? 100. 100. He's only giving, 1%.
Didn't we once learn that what what Haman's pledge was equal to 600,000
Machzos HaShekel, yes.
Machzos HaShekel
yes.
that the Jews gave to...
Yeah, good, right. V'yad chintin koirin ma'ah, up to 100 kor of wheat. V'yad chamar batin ma'ah, and 100 baths of wine. V'yad batin meshach ma'ah, 100 baths of oil. Umelach dilachasav, and salt, no number. The king had unlimited amount of salt, so he did not put a limit on the amount of salt he was going to offer. Kol di, all of this, mintam, from the decree elakah shemaya, of the God of heaven. In other words, anything that is coming forth with the permission of God, Yisaved Adrazta, should be performed. Now, what does Adrazta mean? Look at Rashi, Adrazta Choisam, with the signet. In other words, Daryavesh is saying, anything that God wants, I give my seal to. Adrazta, the seal, the Beisel Kashmaya, of the house of God. Now, what does it mean, the seal of the house of God.
According to Masuda Sion, Adrasda is who Indians Rizas. In Lo Doma, there's no other word.
Similar to it. The
Malbim
yeah.
translates seal, asserting that the king commanded that a special seal be made, bearing the insignia of the temple of God. A decree bearing the seal would be considered a command of the God of heaven, and will carry the binding authority of the king's proclamation.
Okay, good. This was a special signet ring issued for the occasion of carrying out orders for the Beis HaMikdash. Lebeis HaLakashemaya. Di Lama. Now the Navi is giving me the motivation. Why is Daryavish motivated to be so helpful in the building, the running of the Beis HaMikdash? You know why? Di Lama Laheve Kitzaf. Why should there be wrath? Why should there be anger? Al Malchus Malka Uvanahi. For the kingdom, the king and his children. In other words, he's doing this for ulterior motives. He wants to garner the favor of God, because why should he have Hashem upset at him? Ulechaim.
But was he going to incur the wrath of? Remember, we had those people who were sending letters saying, look what the Jews are doing. They're exceeding their authority. Blah blah blah. So there's obviously a faction there.
Oh yeah, right.
There always is. That was hostile to this.
Okay, so apparently he felt he had enough power.
Not to deal with that.
Yeah.
To worry about.
Now it's very interesting. If you look back in Parak Vav, Pasuk Vav, just want to remind you, we spoke this out Friday, but one of the people in Parak Vav, right? One of the people who was interfering with the reconstruction of the Beis HaMikdash was Tatnai, who was the governor of Avar Nahara. So the Targum Sheni on Megillas Esther says that Zeresh was the daughter of Tatnai. Very interesting. You're learning Sefer Ezra. Who's Tatnai? What do you know about Tatnai? Tatnai is Zeresh's father. So Arura, Zeresh, probably Arura, Tatnai also. Okay. In any event, the pasuk continues. Pasuk Chavdal Ulechaim, and to you, Mahoidein, I let you know, Dichol Kohanaya, all the Kohanim v'Levaye and the Leviim, Zamaraya, the musicians, Sara'aya, the gatekeepers, Nesinaya, the Nesinim, Ufalche Beis HaKadina, and the workers of the house of God, Minda, V'loi V'halach, taxis, levies, other fines, in other words, all kinds of taxes. La Shalit Lamirme Aleim, you're not allowed to place on them. And last week we learned from here, the Gemara Bava Basra derives that you can't tax Talmidei Chachamim. The Gemara apparently is equating those who do service in the Beis HaMikdash with those who are Loimei Torah. Okay, that was last week. This is where we're up to. V'yant Ezra, and you Ezra, kechachmas alakach vidach, in accordance with the wisdom of your God that you have, many shaftin. Now Rashi learns, many shaftin means more than the other judges. Many, even more than the other judges. Other Mefarshim learns many shaftim, you should appoint judges. Many shaftim, like to be mamana, v'dayanim, and judges, and other types of judges. What do they call them? Magistrates, right? Now if you look in the Malbim,
one is civil, one may be criminal.
So the Malbim learns what are the differences between the two different types of judges. There are shoftim mumchim, and there are dayanim that are not mumchim. Hadyotos. Now a regular simple judge, you need three of them. A mumche could judge civil cases on his own.
So the dayan is definitely a mumcha?
No, a dayan is not necessarily a mumcha. Could be a hedyot. Even a lay person.
What's the difference between a hedyot, shofet, or dayan? They're both hedyot.
No, a shofet.
One civil, one criminal.
Shofet is a mumcha.
Oh, shofet is a mumcha.
Shofet is a mumcha, and dayanin is a hedyot. So either Ezra is implored to appoint these people, or Daryavish is saying, you have more wisdom than these people, di lehavoin dainin l'cha'ama, that judge the people, di ba'avar nara, in the Trans River, l'chol yadei dasei elakach, for all those who know the law of God, v'di lo yada, and those who don't know, a judge that doesn't know, you better teach him, to haidan, teach him. V'chol dila leheve aved dasa dialakach. Whoever doesn't fulfill the decree of God, v'dasa dimalka, and the laws of the king, asparna, then very quickly, dina leheve misaved minei. We should carry out judgment to them. What should we do to them? Hein lemais, either we'll execute them. Hein lish roishi, or we'll be oiker him from the world. Now, what does that mean to oiker someone from the world? The Gemara in, let's see, 1 second. The Malbim learns, I'll be oiker them from the world and kill them and their children. But I think the Gemara Ma'ikata learns from there the concept of cherem, excommunication. That there are times that Bezdin has the ability to carry out extra legal rulings. Even if this is not the din of the Torah, the Bezdin has the authority to excommunicate somebody. Okay? Hein la'anosh nechsin, or to punish somebody with his possessions, to take away someone's possessions. V'la asurin, or to torture someone. Okay? Torture. So in other words, Daryavish the king is granting Ezra the Sefer.
But he's not saying you change the process of the Jewish court system, right? I mean, you just don't kill somebody. You got
Right.
and hey, this and that still's operating, right? He's not inserting himself into shortcutting the process.
There are some Mepharshim that learn that from the fact that he's saying L'shroishi, which according to some means to destroy the children also, that you don't find anywhere in the halacha, because we say ish ba'avono yamos. But some say no, only where it's called for, only where it's called for, yeah.
So these dayanim and these shoftim, are they going to operate under halacha, or they're going to operate under the
Persian
law? What are they going to have complete independence, so they make a ruling that's contrary to Persian law? Is that going to hold up? Is he actually giving them complete autonomy and a new judicial system under which to operate?
Yeah, apparently Daryavish is giving Ezra, he's saying you act in accordance with the law of your God. Daryavish is granting the Jews a certain degree of autonomous judicial system.
Yet the tax that they're putting doesn't apply to the people who are building the Beis HaMikdash,
right?
The Leviim. But that tax was a Persian tax, not a Jewish tax. So you could see he didn't give them total.
No, they're still subjects of the Persian Empire. In fact, if you went to the second Beis HaMikdash, they had an image of Shushan Habira in the Beis HaMikdash as a reminder that they're still subject to Persian law. But look, he's a Yid, right? His mother was Esther.
But he's still a king.
He's still a king.
He doesn't want to fool around with his power. And have
right. And whether
have another Medina say, look, the Jews have their own rules and regulations. Well, why don't we have? We don't like this law. We don't like Obamacare. We want to have our own medical system.
Yeah, I don't know if he had Daryavish care, and I don't know if he considered himself a Yid or not. He was a Jew. His mother was a Jew, but whether he considered himself one, perhaps not. Perhaps not. Okay.
But yet he was
sympathetic, right?
He was empathetic to the Jews.
Yes. Yes. So what I'm saying, he knew his mother was a Jew, presumably, right? But did he consider himself a Jew, or did he say, well, according to Persian halacha, you follow the father? We don't necessarily find that he was a Shomer Torah mitzvahs. What?
He didn't do that necessarily. That we must follow Persian law. He let the Jews.
Right, but personally, I don't know if he ate, gefilte fish on Shabbos.
I'm not interested in what he ate.
I'm saying, did he himself personally?
The Jews eat gefilte fish.
He did let them.
He put in his own law. He said because the Dosor the Melech, right? That's his law.
That's my law, right? But him personally, did Daryavish conduct himself like a Jew?
No.
Okay. Now, from this point on, for a little while, the point of view of the Sefer shifts. Until now, the Sefer is written in third person. It's giving an accounting of what happens. Now, this is written in first person. It's Ezra telling you about himself. This is Ezra talking.
Switching languages.
What?
like it did before.
Yes.
Which
Back
language
to
is
normal
going
Hebrew.
Okay, right. Baruch Hashem Elokei Aviseinu. Blessed is God, the God of our fathers. Asher Nosan Kazois, that placed this B'leiv Hamelach, in the heart of the king, Lefayer, to glorify his base Hashem, the house of God, Asher B'Yerushalayim. Ve'alai, and to me, Hita Chesed L'fnei Hamelach, he inclined to me the kindness of the king, V'Yoyatzav, and his advisors, U'L'chol Sari Hamelach Hagibarim, and all the ministers of the king, the mighty ones. And therefore, Vani his chazakti, and I strengthened myself, Kiyad Hashem Leikai Olai, with the help of Hashem, my God, upon me. Va'ekbitza mi Yisrael, and I gathered from Israel. In other words, not from Israel, from the Jews. Rashim, leaders, la'alois imi, to go up with me. Now, you have to know, many Jews, most Jews came in the first wave, like we learned in the beginning of Ezra. Ezra is gathering the rest of them now, okay? And we're going to see that Ezra is going to be inquiring and analyzing who's coming with him, and not everyone's going to come with him. Parak Ches. V'yela Rashi Avosayim. These are the family heads, B'his Yachsam, and their lineage. Ha'olamimi, that came up with me. This is Ezra talking now, right? B'malchus Artaxasta Hamelach mi Bavel, with the permission of King Daryavesh from Bavel. Again, even though it's the Persian Empire, it still maintains the name of Babylon. Okay, and we're going to hear some family names. We have about...
Daryavesh ever referred to here, I don't remember, as Daryavesh?
I think in Parak Vav, Pasuk Aleph, it says, Beidayin Daryavesh Malka Sam Ta'im.
So why are they switching around here, the names? I mean...
Artaxasta was like a title, like a parai. It was a title.
So Daryavesh was his given name, and the Artaxasta.
Say that 10 times quickly.
I can't say it one time.
Artaxasta
was his kingly name.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Pasuk Beis. Mibnei Pinchas, from the descendants of Pinchas. Gershom, a man by the name of Gershom came. Mibnei Isamar, from the descendants of Isamar. Daniel came. Now, is this Daniel from Sefer Daniel? Doubtful. No. Mibnei David, from the descendants of David. Chatush. Mibnei Shechanya, from the family head of Shechanya. Mibnei Parosh, from the descendants of Parosh. Zechariah, a man by the name of Zechariah, who was a family head. Ve'imai.
So Zechariah was from Parosh and then from Shechanya, so that's like two different generations?
Yeah, so he was from Parosh. Which Parosh? The one who came from Zechariah, from Shechanya. And who did Zechariah bring with him? Ve'imai, his Yaches l'Zecharim, he brought with him males who had a lineage, Mea v'chamishim, 250 men.
What do you mean?
150 men.
If they didn't have a lineage, they wouldn't come?
No, in other words, a lineage from this family.
Oh.
Okay? So, basically they had a family head. This family head was required to bring proof that he came from an original descendant, and all those who were associated with him had to prove they were related to him. So he had with him 150 men. Mibnei Pachas Mayav, from the descendants of the governor of Mayav. Now we had this before, I think in Parak Beis, and this is an allusion to the family of David HaMelech, who comes from Rus, who is a princess of Mayav. El Yehoyenai ben Zerachia. There was someone named of El Yehoyenai ben Zerachia. Ve'imai Masayim HaZachar, another 200 men with him. Mibnei Shechanya.
That only goes back one generation, whereas in the previous pasuk it goes back 2 generations for a lineage.
Right. Possibly in Gimel it goes back 2, because in pasuk K there's another Shechanya. So we want to differentiate one Shechanya from another. Pasuk K, Mibnei Shechanya ben Yachaziel, from the descendants of Shechanya ben Yachaziel. Ve'imai shloish me'as hazacharim, 300 men. Ubnei Adin, from the descendants of Adin, Eved ben Yonasan, that was his name. Right? His name was Eved. I'm sure his wife liked that. Ve'imai chamishim hazacharim, and he had with him 50 males. Umibnei Elam, the sons of Elam, Yeshaya ben Asaya. You had a man by the name of Ashaya, Yeshaya. V'imay Shivim Hazacharim, 70 males. Umibnei Shefatia, from the family of Shefatia, Zevadia ben Michael. V'imay Shmoinim Hazacharim. He had 80 men. Mibnei Yoav, the sons of Yoav, Oivadia ben Yechiel. V'imay Masayim Ushmaina Asar Hazacharim, 218. Now it's very interesting because you would think
all rounding off by 0, and this one has 218.
Right, so maybe that means it wasn't a round off. You know, it's interesting, when the Mayflower landed in America, 300 years ago?
Almost 400, 1620.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
History.
Time flies, you know? So, I mean, do we know the names of the families who arrived here on these shores?
Sure.
That's right. They do
They keep
have
their genealogy.
In the Mayflower? Do they?
Yes, those people in America.
I read recently that we don't know. I actually read last night that we don't know the names of the families that landed, and nobody today could trace their lineage back to the original.
I've seen stories, and the families today, they say their ancestors came over on the Mayflower.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if we have a complete list.
Zolzana Zoi, but to have a record of exactly which families landed in Eretz Yisrael 2,000 years ago, and exactly which families, who exactly did they come from, right? And even those families that landed here, did those people have lineage tracing them back, right? So it's an amazing concept. You have something that happened so long ago, and we have recorded exactly who left Bavel in the times of Ezra and came to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, Pasuk Yud. Umibnei Shalomis, from the descendants of Shalomis ben Yosifia. Now Shlomis was not a woman; it was a man's name. Shlomis ben Yosifia. Ve'imai mea v'shishim hazacham, 260. Ubnei Bevai, family of Bevai, Zechariah ben Bevai. Ve'imai esu mishmana hazacharim, 28. Ubnei Azgad, Yochanan ben Hakatan. Ve'imai mea v'asar hazacharim, 110. Umibnei Adoinikam acharoinim, from the descendants of Adoinikam, the last ones. What does that mean, the last ones? Rashi says they were the last ones to follow Ezra.
What do you mean the last ones? Everyone else, no one
Meaning-
else remained there?
No. Of all the people who went with Ezra, the Bnei Adoinikam were the last to join him. Right? Now the Malbim learns, what does it mean they were the last? These were the last descendants of Adoinikam. Why? No descendants of Adoinikam remained in Chutz Haaretz, because on the first time 666 men from this family went up, the Malbim says. So now the very last of the Adonikams, right? You ever hear the last of the Mohicans? These are the last of the Adonikams, right? These were the last people remaining in Golos, and they also came up. Ve'ela Shemaisam Eli Felet Ye'iel Ushemaya V'imam Shishim Hazacharim. Okay. Umimnei Vigvai, descendants of Vigvai, Usai, V'Zakor, V'imam Shivim Hazacharim. Says Ezra, Va'ek V'Tseima, gather them, El Hanar, to the river, Haba El Ahava, that comes, Haba. What does that mean, a river Haba? Rashi says, Hanoiveh, a flowing river. El Ahava.
Is there any river that's not flowing? It flows pretty good. I saw it. Oh, big time. They have to slow it down sometime, depending on the amount of water it's in there.
El Ahava. This flowing river flows to the river Ahava. Maybe it means they came to a part of the river that flows. Not every portion of a river
No, you know what I think?
is visibly flowing.
It could be that the river breaks in two, right? And
Okay.
this is the part that goes to, right?
Well, Mitsuda says it flowed to a place named Ahava.
Okay.
Harbin, it's a river which where
Flows to another river called.
They got the
into
name
Ahava.
Ankrim.
It's-
Ava.
Okay. Vanachen Hashem, we encamped there, Yamim Shlosha, for 3 days. Now listen carefully. Va'avina va'am. I scrutinized the people. I looked over the people. Uva kohanim, and the kohanim. Umi b'nei Levi, and from the descendants of Levi, lo matzasi sham. I did not find any Leviim over there. So this is a very well-known pasuk, that when Ezra is returning, he looks over the people, he sees Kohanim, he sees people from other Shvatim, he cannot find any Leviim, which is very strange.
Did they cut off their thumb and they couldn't come or something?
This is very strange. What do you mean he couldn't find any Leviim? We find in the beginning of Ezra that many Leviim returned.
The first time, right?
The first wave.
Right.
So what exactly does it mean he couldn't find any Leviim? In fact, the Rambam says, Hilchos Maisros,
Maybe because they all came back the first time.
the Rambam says, the Rambam says in Hilchos Maisros, let's see,
He was looking basically for people that Leviim that didn't cut off their thumb.
says the Rambam in Parak Aleph, Halacha Daled, the Ezra kanas as halavim bismanoi. Ezra penalized the Leviim. Shalayinu lehem ma'aser rishon. You don't give ma'aser rishon to Leviim anymore. We know the halacha is, what do you do with ma'aser rishon? Give it to Levi. When Ezra came up and he saw none of the Leviim were coming with him, he penalized the Leviim not to give them ma'aser rishon. Ella, who do you give it to?
Kohen.
Yinasin leKohanim lefi shalai alu imay l'Yerushalayim. Ezra knas the Leviim, and he said, you know what? You lose out your portion.
Didn't they go in the first group? Didn't we learn that they went in the first group?
When they get back to Eretz Yisrael, the Leviim did not get Meiser anymore.
They should get double if they went in the first group.
Are we talking about the first group, or he's looking for new Leviim?
In the current group, there's
no Leviim get Meiser.
Why penalize the Leviim that can't play because they cut off their thumb?
What's with the thumb?
You keep saying that. Where do you see that?
Where do you see anything about the thumb?
That's why in the first wave.
Give me your text.
One second.
Came, but they told them to play before the king and Bubba, so they cut off their thumb.
Beautiful, but no, the pasuk says the Leviim didn't come up.
But we learned that the Leviim came in the first group.
That's right. There you have. I have a
Okay, so now we have to look. There are two Gemaras. I think one is in Kedushin Samach Test, and one is in Yevamas Pevav Amabes. We're going to see the one. What? Let's take a look. The Taisa says in Yevamas Pevav Amabes, and I'm not going to tell you how I remember Pevav Amabes. That would be my secret.
How do you read them?
I can't say it on the video. So it says like this: B'nei Levi loy matzasi sham. The Gemara in Yevamah says like this, okay? Va'ek b'tzeim el anar. I will gather them to the river. Haba el ahava. V'nachano sham yamim shloisha v'avina ba'am u'v'kayhanim u'mnei Levi loy matzasi sham. Says Tosfos. There's a Mishnah in the fourth parak of Kedushin that says Asara Yosen Alu Mi Bavel Kohanim Leviim Yisraelim. So the Mishnah says Leviim did return. And Leviim. And if you look in Ezra Parak Aleph, Vayakumu Rashi Havas Yehuda Ben Yom Leviim Alma Alu. Says Tosfos, quoting Rashi, and this is what Mr. Nathan was saying, that the Leviim that went up in the first wave were those who had bitten their thumbs. Now think about that. Bitten their thumbs? That means these Leviim are how old? They're very old. That means when they were exiled 70 years earlier, and Nebuchadnezzar said, play for me, They had to be at least 13 years old then. Right? So that means these Leviim are at least 83 years old. Now how do we know they bit off their thumbs?
Mr. Nathan said so.
That's a good... Wow. You inspire a lot of confidence in that, right? But how do we know that? Because the pasuk says, Shiru lanu mishir tzion. They didn't say, Loi nashir. They said, hey, how can we? When he said, Shiru lanu mishir tzion, Amdu v'katzatzu b'haino isayim, v'amru eich nashir shir tzion. Why did Ezra cast the people? Because Ezra's coming back. He needs musicians! And the only Leviim that are returning are Bali Mumin from the old generation. Remember the glory of the first Beis HaMikdash. The new wave of Leviim, they said, we're very happy watching our teams in Bavel. The Babylonian Bobcats, or whatever they call them, right? So, they were very happy back there in Bavel. Shalai Matzah Shamruim L'Shir Amad V'Kansam. What about according to the man, the Amar Ikar Shira B'Peh. You don't need to play music. Because there's still a mitzvah to play the musical instrument, and therefore Ezra was upset. So in other words, yes, granted, Leviim did return, but they weren't capable. Now, when did these Leviim who had cut off fingers return? With the first wave or the second wave?
So the first wave, no?
The first wave.
So they were very old.
So
So
now
he had no Leviim capable of doing Shira V'Zimra in the second wave.
Now,
So I have a question. What gives Ezra the right to
So that means there was no one.
Mitzvah Doraisa?
Yesh koach b'yachachamim laker davar min haTorah.
One person? Sanhedrin, Fashteach.
So
Ezra himself.
Ezra was the Rosh of the Anshe Knesset Agdola. Perhaps he got the decision of the Anshe Knesset Agdola.
It doesn't say that. Just as Ezra, it doesn't say the Beis Din.
But could you pass me
It doesn't say
that thing under your cap?
It doesn't
the
say
sefer.
Shoftim.
the Sefer?
Yeah. Not everybody agrees with Tosfos. Not everybody agrees with Tosfos. Thank you. What does it say over here? The Ramban and the Ritva say, okay, thank you. The Tosfos learns that there were no Leviim whatsoever who were Shalem. The Leviim that returned previously were Bali Mumin, and now there are no Leviim at all. The Ramban and the Ritva both say in Kedushin that certainly Leviim returned previously who were capable of playing music. It's just now, at this juncture, the ones returning with Ezra, there were no people right to play the music. But it doesn't mean the Jews back in Eretz Yisrael did not have any Leviim who had whole fingers.
So let's take it one step further. So
Yeah.
those Jews in Eretz Yisrael that either were incapable because of age, from what I recall, in order to be able to get Meiser, you don't. If you're a Baal Mum, you still could get Meiser.
Yeah, but that was the Knas. The Knas is
Why
since
should they get a Knesset? They didn't do anything.
all the
wrong.
Leviim apparently, Ezra's Knas l'chayr was not just on those Leviim who didn't return, because the ones that didn't return weren't there to get anything, right? The Knas was on the institution of the Levites.
But why
Even
should
though
they
the
be
Even
punished?
so, it comes out even the ones that did return were punished. Yeah,
Why?
Why?
that's
Why?
you're responsible.
It's not of their fault that they can't play.
No. Why did people suffer just because they were Jewish?
That's the Knas. Ezra put Knas on Leviim. Only Leviim that didn't return, they're not there to get anything, right? They had to be on those that were
But
there.
the question is still, why punish?
Here's the thing. Ezra Knas to Leviim. Now it's very interesting. Why would Ezra Knas, the Leviim that didn't now think about it. According to Tosfos, the Leviim that didn't return, they're not being knased because they can't get Meiser anyway because they're not there. Right. So who's he knasing? The old Leviim who bit off their fingers. What do you want from them? It's their. They did a very noble thing.
That's what we're punished. That's what we're asking.
So the answer is Rav Zaychik writes, one of the Bali Musar, that we're faulting the Leviim who bit off their fingers. Because why did they bite off their fingers?
Not to play for the
They figured, let's destroy our fingers. We'll probably never again have the zchus to return in Eretz Yisrael.
They would eventually come
They were
back.
mayayish. They gave up hope. They thought
So
they would
they
never
should have played
return.
for never.
No, they should have said, we're not going to play. We're not. Why they bite off their fingers? They figured we don't need them anymore. Why don't you need them?
So they would have been.
You don't think in 70 years God could remember you and bring you back?
He would have killed them. That's better.
No, you could say another.
And now what?
You could say another thing. If Ezra made a takana not to give Meiser to Leviim, he could also have said, these are the only Leviim we have, even though they're not perfectly, but they could do Shira and they can play as best they can.
No, but that's being oiker the Torah b'kamase. That's proactively violate. You can't have a balmum play the avodah. Here,
they could sing with the pad.
Yeah, they can, but he knas them. He cannot. So maybe they did, but he still knas them. Okay, let's see. Let's see pasuk Tez Zayin. Let's see pasuk Tez Zayin. One more pasuk. Now Ezra is in search of the Leviim. Va'esh lecha, and I sent LaEliezer, LaAriel, LaShmaya, UleElnasan, UleYariv, UleElnasan, UleNasan, VeLeZachariah, VeLeMeshulam, Rashim. I sent to these leaders, UleYariv, UleElnasan, Mevinim, and to Yariv and Elnasan, the wise men. And we're going to learn that Ezra is seeking these people out to be messengers to go try to find Leviim to come up with him.
I always look at the Tamei Mikra.
Yeah.
And there are three pazer, or Serim, I don't know what you call it, in Eshlecha, Eliezer, Ariel. I don't know, maybe that indicates with hesitancy or he didn't think they would return. Three in a row. Mm-hmm. You don't see that very often. Even in some of the Svarim where the trup in Ezra, as I've been looking at it, is kind of a real normal trup. In some other Svarim, you don't see that. You see a kind of strange trup. But here, the trup is pretty normal. But this is three in a row.
Okay. I hear it's good ha'ara. Okay, Rabbi say, have a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.